Hello student, welcome to the lecture on international labor relations, and after this lecture we will be able to learn the following objectives. Understand the international human resource management approach, discuss about the key issues in international industrial relation, describe the subsidiary characteristic, understand trade unions and international industrial relations, explain the management attitudes towards unions. Let's start with a brief introduction to the topic international labor relations. This field covers the regulation of the employment relationship and in democratic societies has developed on the basis of legal guarantees the right to organize and autonomy of collective bargaining into a relatively autonomous subsystem of society. Because of the national differences in economic, political and legal system across countries, there exist different states of labor relations that international companies must face. Differences also exist between the local company and international company. Although no difference found in the number of strikes in the two areas, the multinational firms usually had strikes that were larger and lasted longer. Key issues in international industrial relations. At the national level, then, there is an inextricable link between the nature and form of human resource management as practiced in companies and the culture and structure of industrial relations in the country concerned. It is, however, not the case that human resource management and industrial relations influence each other directly. Instead, they form part of a complex and dynamic whole. Company management function as a strategic player in shaping the relationship with its personnel and in regulating the factor labor. Now, before examining the key issues in labor relations as they relate to multinational firms, it is needed to consider some general points about the field of international labor relations, which include: first, it is important to realize that it is difficult to compare industrial relations system and behavior across national boundaries. A labor relations concept may change considerably when translated from one industrial relation context to another. Second, it is generally recognized in the international labor relation field that no industrial relation system can be understood without an appreciation of its historical origin. Standardization. Although the United States government has taken an interest in promoting standardized labor practices in developing countries, their efforts, according to John W. Butt and James G. Stovall, editors of the Ethics of Human Resources and Industrial Relations, have been challenged by critics who argue that demands such as restriction on child labor practices and the improving of adult labor practices will only harm the workers of those countries, resulting in the loss of needed jobs. Bargaining rights. Bargaining rights refer to union recognitions and the rights of individual workers to join together and bargain for a change in policy and organization. The National Labor Relations Act (NLRA) maintains that a key element to the recognition of bargaining rights is the intent to come to an agreement, a meeting of the minds as it were. Lookism. The topic of appearance discrimination in the workplace has become a popular issue in industrial relations. The study, which appeared in Obesity Research, raised the awareness of lookism as yet another issue in industrial relations. Multinational corporation. An issue in industrial relations is the probability of the American approach to human resource management in multinational corporations not only becoming globally popularized in the host countries but also influencing their government business policy. According to Phil Almond and Anthony Furnar, editors of American Multinationals in Europe, Managing Employment Relation Across National Borders, the international business community has conflicting views regarding the effects of America's presence in multinational corporations. Impact of globalization. Labor mobility in a global marketplace remains a concern for the United States and the European Union, says Robert C. Frenstad, a professor of economics at the University of California, Davis. Both economics are faced with challenges provided by an influx of low-wage immigrant workers and by outsourcing the term for moving production capability offshore. Other issues. National differences in economic, political and legal system produce markedly different IR system across countries. Multinationals generally delegate the management of IR to their foreign subsidiaries. However, policy of decentralization should not keep corporate headquarters from exercising some coordination over IR strategy. Generally, corporate headquarters will become involved in or oversee labor agreements made by foreign subsidiaries because these agreements may affect the international plans of the firm and or create precedents for negotiations in other countries. Degree of inter-subsidiary production integration. Degree of inter-subsidiary production integration and ILR, high degree of integration, was found to be the most important factor leading to the centralization of the IR function within the firm studied. A global coordinated labor and industrial relations policy becomes an important factor in ensuring a successful global production strategy, and with it helps ensure the organization growth and sustainability. The increased production integration of the multinational subsidiaries has changed their role in the international production network and increased the parent company influences on different aspects of recruitment and selection activities. Nationality of ownership of the subsidiary. Nationality of ownership of the subsidiary US firms tends to exercise greater centralized control over labor relations than do British or other European firms. US firms tend to place greater emphasis on formal management controls and a closed reporting system, particularly within the area of financial control, to ensure that planning targets are met. Foreign-owned multinationals in Britain prefer single-employer bargaining rather than involving an employer association and are more likely than British firms to exert managerial prerogative on matters of labor utilization. Here are some points to throw light on the nationality of ownership of the subsidiary. The level of involvement by the organization headquarters in its subsidiary units' labor and industrial relation policy has been shown to differ according to the ownership. US organizations tend to exercise more centralized control over labor and industrial relations than organizations from the European Union. Reasons put forward to explain the difference are that US tends to be comparatively more integrated differences between US and European labor relations systems and the more ethnocentric managerial style of US organization. International Human Resource Management Approach. The term HRM covers a range of activities. The term is increasingly used as an alternative to personal management. HR manager at international level must not only select people with skills but also employees who can mix with the organization culture. Companies involved in world trade and investment can be divided into 4 types based on their management approach and corporate philosophy. Ethnocentric. Their motto is, "This work in my country, therefore it must work in other countries also." These are home country oriented organizations. In this approach, all key management positions are held by parent country nationals, example Toyota, Matsushita, Samsung, etc. There are several problems that have been recognized in adopting the approach. Some of them have been pointed below. An ethnocentric staffing policy limits the promotion opportunities of HCNs, which may lead to reduced productivity and increased turnover among that group. The adaptation of expatriate managers to host countries often takes a long time, during which PCNs make mistakes and make poor decisions. When PCN and HCN compensation packages are compared, the often considerable income gap in favor of PCN is viewed by HCN as unjustified. For many expatriates, a key international position means new status, authority, and an increase in standard of living. These changes may affect expatriate sensitivity to the needs and expectation of their host country subordinates. Polycentric. Their motto is, "When in Rome, do as the Romans do." When you are elsewhere, lives as they live elsewhere. The polycentric staffing requires host country nationals to be hired to manage subsidiaries, while parent country nationals occupy key positions at corporate headquarters. The polycentric message is, local people know what is best for them. There are several advantages with this approach are outlined below. Employing HCNs eliminate language problems for the expatriates and their family members, reduces costs on costly awareness training programs, and takes care of the adjustment problems to a large extent. In politically sensitive situations, it helps the MNCs to maintain a low profile. Even though high salaries may have to be given to attract HCN applicants, it still works out cheaper for the company in the long run as compared to employing PCNs. The crucial problem of turnover experience when employing PCN can be avoided effectively by employing HCNs, since they are more stable and can help in maintaining the continuity in managing subsidiaries more efficiently. Some of the problems are as follows. Bridging the gap between HCN subsidiary managers and the PCN managers at headquarters is a major problem, especially with regard to language barriers, conflicting national loyalties, and differences emanating from personal values, attitudes to business, and so on. This may result in a MNC becoming a federation of independent national units with weak linkages to the corporate headquarters. Lack of exposure to international assignment among PCN managers at headquarters and lack of career mobility among HCN managers due to their stagnation in subsidiaries will ultimately affect their strategic decision-making capabilities, reducing their market share and customer base and their position in the foreign country vis-a-vis their competitors. Regiocentric. These are regionally oriented organization. A corporation implements a regional strategy when synergistic benefits can be obtained by sharing functions across regions. The international staff is transferred within the same region they work. The advantages of using a regiocentric approach are: it allows interaction between executives transferred to regional headquarters from subsidiaries in the region and PCN posted to the regional headquarters. It reflects some sensitivity to local conditions, since local subsidiaries are staffed almost totally by HCN. It can be a way for a multinational to more gradually from a purely ethnocentric or polycentric approach to a geocentric approach. Disadvantages of regiocentric policy. It can produce federalism at a regional rather than a country basic and constrain the organization from taking a global stance. While this approach does improve career prospect at the national level, it only moves the barrier to regional level staff may advance to regional headquarters but seldom to position at the parent headquarters. Geocentric. Their staffing philosophy seeks the best people for key jobs throughout the organization regardless of nationality. Selecting the best person for the job irrespective of nationality is most consistent with the underlying philosophy of a global corporation. There are three main advantages to its approach. It enables a multinational firm to develop an international executive team which assists in developing a global perspective and an international pool of labor for deployment throughout the global organization. It overcomes a federation drawback of the polycentric approach. It supports cooperation and resource sharing across units. There are disadvantages associated with a geocentric policy. Bridging the gap between HCN subsidiary managers and the PCN managers at headquarters is a major problem, especially with regard to language barriers, conflicting national loyalties, and differences emanating from personal values, attitudes to business, and so on. Host government want a high number of their citizens employed and may utilize immigration controls in order to force HCN employment if enough people and adequate skills are unavailable. Many Western countries need extensive documentation if they wish to hire a foreign national instead of a local national, which is time-consuming, expensive, and at times futile. A geocentric policy can be expensive to implement because of increased training and relocation costs. A related factor is the need to have a compensation structure which may be higher than national levels in many countries. Lack of exposure to international assignments among PCN managers at headquarters and lack of career mobility among HCN managers due to their stagnation in subsidiaries will ultimately affect the strategic decision-making capabilities of both the groups of managers, thereby affecting the firms and the quality of their business decisions and their resource allocation capabilities, reducing their market share and customer base and their position in the foreign country vis-a-vis their competitors. Large numbers of PCN, TCNs and HCNs needs to be sent abroad in order to build and maintain the international team required to support a geocentric staffing policy. To implement a geocentric staffing policy successfully, therefore requires a longer lead time and more centralized control of the staffing process. This necessarily reduces the independence of subsidiary management in these issues, and this loss of customarily may be resisted by the subsidiary. Subsidiary characteristics. Subsidiary characteristics are formed through acquisition of well-established indigenous firms tend to be given much more autonomy over industrial relations than our greenfield sites. Where the parent firm is a significant source of operating or investment funds for the subsidiary, a subsidiary is more dependent on headquarters for resources, there will tend to be increased corporate involvement in industrial relations and human resource management. An initiative is defined here as discrete, proactive understanding, repeat, proactive undertaking that advances a new way for the corporation to use or expand its resources. It is essentially an entrepreneurial process beginning with the identification of an opportunity and culminating in the commitment of resources to that opportunity. Subsidiary is defined here to be any operational unit controlled by the MNCs and situated outside the home country. National competitiveness. Porter defines a nation's competitiveness as depending upon the capacity of its industry to innovate and upgrade. Scott and Lodge define it as a country's ability to create, produce, distribute and or service products in international trade while earning rising returns on its resources. According to Blaine, a nation's competitiveness refers to its ability to produce and distribute goods and services that can compete in international markets and which simultaneously increase the real income and living standards of its citizens. Foreign subsidiary, characteristic contributing to national competitiveness. Not all foreign subsidiaries will contribute the resources needed to maintain the national competitiveness of their host nation. Subsidiaries with certain characteristics are greater providers of the resources and technical and managerial skills that are so important in building and maintaining national competitiveness. Such subsidiary characteristics include its strategic role within the corporation, level of technology employed in its processes, the training it provides for its employees, suppliers and customers, the subsidiary levels of international interdependence. Management attitude towards union. It can be concluded that management attitudes towards union put a deep impact on their effectiveness to work and also to ensure that the operations are carried in a smooth manner. It's very important to understand that there should be harmony in the management-union relationships to avoid any kind of disturbance in the efficient working of an organization. Summary. Now in the end, let us summarize what we have learned in this lecture. It should be noted that most of the subsidiary characteristic detail here involve a high degree of knowledge and skill transfer from the parent company to its foreign location. It's likely that much of knowledge and skills transferred to the subsidiary would be proprietary in nature or at least closely held by the corporation. The MNC would be unlikely to transfer such valuable taxes except if it did not expect to have control over how they were to be used or dispersed in the foreign location. Host country regulations that limit foreign ownership can have a considerable impact on the degree to which a foreign parent has control over its asset within that country. The model presented here assumes that the parent corporation retains control over the subsidiary. Thus, for the purposes of this model, a foreign subsidiary is defined as a foreign operation in which the parent corporation has at least a majority ownership, share, and management control.